Friends, today's NRI Samay program from Los Angeles brought to you commercial-free by listeners like you. Your generous donations make possible for us to stay commercial-free, and today's show is pre-recorded. If you have a question for the guest, please send an email to nrisamay@gmail.com. We will follow up with the guest and find the answer for you. Thank you for your support.
Hello friends, a clean environment should be a fundamental basic right of every living creature, but it just doesn't happen. Each one of us have to make it happen. The reason being, filth that litters our streets and pollutes our waterways affects each one of us. Every day in India, thousands of children suffer, and many ending up in deaths unfortunately, from the drinking dirty water, and it's reported that 80% of the population suffers from pollution-induced diseases and fatalities. The general public, children, tourists, business, municipalities, panchayats, whatnot, even animals, everyone is affected by the filth that litters our streets and pollutes our waterways. Municipal solid waste management rules are already there to protect everyone and the environment, but the system has its own inefficiencies. We don't know whom to blame there, but it just happens. My name is Srikant Kocharla-Kota, and on NRI Samay Community Radio, we do have two incredible Indians, Mani Vajpayee and Raj Madan Gopal, who are with us right now online, who quit their high-paying jobs in the US, started a social enterprise, Banyan, to tackle this India's mounting garbage crisis. So you can visit their website, www.banyannation.com, BANYAN nation.com. Mani and Raj, first of all, thank you so much for being with us, and just a short notice. Appreciate your time, sir.
Hi, Srikant.
Thank you. So, Mani, let me start with this. Brilliant social enterprise, the garbage crisis, and these topics are really remote, and, the way it looks at. But, I hate to say this, but handling garbage crisis is just not a problem of Raj and Mani, right? Shouldn't be worried about, even though it's a social enterprise. But garbage crisis should be dealt with each one of us. But tell us, Mani, what's wrong and why we ended up in such a garbage crisis?
First, Srikant, thanks for having us. And I think you're absolutely right. The garbage crisis, particularly in India, it's a problem that's on the nation's mind, right? It's at the top of everybody's list. And it is so obvious. I mean, the streets are littered with filth. You're true to a vast extent that it is everybody's responsibility to take care of our garbage and our environment and the cities. But what happens in a day-to-day life is people get busy with their own lives. And we entrust our municipalities, the ministers and the leaders we elect to provide us with safe drinking water, clean environment, and the infrastructure that is necessary for our day-to-day existence and living. And I think in India, we are currently struggling, whether you call it as leadership or citizen activism or awareness. I think overall in many areas, we are failing to make our country, we're failing to create ourselves the environment and the ecosystem that we require to thrive. So the responsibility is purely not on the citizens or on the leaders, but I think everybody has to wake up to this fact and act together. I think this is a problem whose time has come. and we need to all wake up. And the reasons behind it are manifold. I think there's no point in putting finger or pointing fingers to anyone, right? I think we as citizens could come up with solutions, and as entrepreneurs, we are coming up with answers to some of these problems and trying to solve them in our own way.
Right. So, Mani, you brought in a good point, citizen activism. You talked about a few things which are very critical as such. Let me understand this in a bit, getting some good insights. Is this a mindset problem? I know you have studied well as far as garbage crisis is concerned before even jumping into social enterprise. It's not that easy. Right. Is it a mindset problem, or is it that generations somehow have neglected, or is it the basic education that we missed in our books, or what's something? We're not blaming anyone here or the system, but there should be something that's happening over the ages that we missed on this. What do you think would be one thing that you would pick up when you hear about the garbage crisis in India?
See, first thing is waste management requires a lot of money and a lot of effort. Now, to compound the problem, India is busting in its seams in terms of the population crisis. We are over 1 billion people. So we really don't have the resources financially to handle. I mean, we need to understand that somebody's got to pay for waste management. Now, I think if you want me to say that what's like a fundamental mindset issue, I think a lot of people seem to believe that we need to understand that we need to pay up for waste management, and somebody's got to pay the bills for that. So it's a very, very complex problem in the sense that you have several components in this whole problem, right? One is you have the collection and transportation. Second, you have the processing. And then you have the landfills that need to be scientifically managed. So it is a vast, complex problem, and the population and the lack of resources don't help. And I think that fundamentally makes it more complicated. However, having said all these things, can we solve the problem? Of course. And I think we require decentralized solutions for each city and customized solutions for each locality, depending on the waste. And I think that's where we need to focus. We need to understand the Indian context, and we need to come up with Indian solutions for Indian problems. I mean, we cannot go and look at a city like San Francisco and say, yeah, San Francisco has come up with that particular solution, and let's go and bring that solution to India. That's not going to work. And in a lot of cases, we try and do that, where we try and bring Western solutions to Indian problems. And this, I think we need to come out of, look at the Indian problem in the Indian context and come up with native solutions for these problems. And I think that's definitely going to help solve the problem. Got
it. Now, I know that Mani and Raj, you guys are good friends, and over ages, if I have to call it. For the past, since 2002, I've read that article which showed up on Facebook, on multiple places it was shared. Also, your article came on social.yourstory.com. If any of our friends are willing to browse this article, it's 2 Indians quit high-paying jobs in U.S. to tackle India's mounting garbage crisis. It's social.yourstory.com. Please go ahead and then read it, friends. So, Raj, I wanted to bring this topic with you. You are a tech expert, right? And you've quit a high-paying job in the U.S., went back home to India. And if you can walk us through with what is the technology and technique that is being used right now in India, and how Banyan as a social enterprise is going to put in a tweak, or you're going to do some changes, or what's the technique that you guys have come up with that's going to address this problem a little bit? Of course, Mani just mentioned that we need to have custom-built Indian solutions to Indian problems, but what is the solution that you guys are looking at?
At Banyan, Srikanth, we believe in a data-driven culture, and we treat data as our North Pole, and that's the entire focus of the organization. We collect data at every touch point in the value chain. Right now we are focused, on a tiny problem, which is the problem of recycling and plastics and e-waste. So, and we're taking a bottom-up approach and a completely data-driven approach. By collecting data across the value chain at every touch point, we can quickly identify a lot of things and come up with lots of patterns and scenarios to tackle this mounting crisis. I think fundamentally there are a lot of companies doing a lot of good work in small pockets across India. I wouldn't say there is nobody, but I think the lack of data both at the center and the state level and with organizations is what is sort of holding us back, because like Mani said, there is no one-size-fits-all, there's no turnkey solution. Every community requires its own solution, and for that I think having the right kind of data matters a lot.
Right. I get your point when you say the data collection is very, very critical. But I wanted to get this sense also, Raj, these days trash is also gold, right? And many countries, they're doing a lot of stuff with the trash. The solid waste management, they basically convert the wood, plants, plastic, all these textiles, materials into some sort of, feedstock, industrial chemicals and whatnot. They're using this. So when you collect the data points, when you do a lot of research on what's happening, and you also mentioned about the touch point data, do you also do a research on what could be done with trash as well, and the garbage as well?
Absolutely. I mean, we have a number of solutions to, deal with the organic fraction and to deal with the recyclables. We have a high-tech materials recovery facility right now in Hyderabad where, we process on average 1 to 2 tons of plastics per day. So, and we are studying the e-waste space, and very soon we'll have solutions for the mounting e-waste problem as well. So, the reason I say we have high-tech solutions is because, as a lot of people are aware, in India, a majority of the recycling, like 90+%, is done by the informal sector, and they are extremely unorganized, and they use a lot of unorthodox methods, and there's a lot of tribal knowledge. So we are trying to upend that entire thing. We are working bottom up with them, but we are trying to upend it by bringing in, a lot of technology and processes that we are putting in place, to be able to solve this problem.
Got it. Mani, you mentioned the population, outburst of a population here. 1/5 of world's population is residing in India. So a garbage crisis has a massive impact on not just our country, right, but our planet. Right. With the buzzword going back and forth about global warming, climate change, bigger scale, the conversation of garbage crisis should happen on the international arena as well. It's alarming not only just for a country, but also on the international platforms. This should be alarming, because we also are part of the population, right, world's population. Does India really get some sort of international community help in order to address this problem? Absolutely. But the reason I'm bringing this is you are a social enterprise. Do you really look at the international communities to really take this forward? I know venture capitalists is one side of the corporate world, but do you have some sort of organizations, NGOs, or the international platforms where they say that we're going to help you out?
Sure. I mean, that's, I think, a great question, right? See, one of the great things about globalization and the world becoming flat is, while we are looking at an Indian problem in an Indian context, we are able to look at solutions that are being developed across the world. And now we look at those solutions and try and customize those solutions to the Indian context, and that is where innovation, right, business innovation kicks in. So if you look at the city of San Francisco, before I go off into these solutions that the world is developing, I think one thing that India needs to be credited with, right, I mean, we do a darn good job at recycling. The reason I say this is the informal sector really helps in picking up whatever is there in the waste stream that could be recycled, they just pick it up, right? Whether it is the rag pickers or the kabadiwalas or the bandiwalas. So India has over 70%, one of the highest recycling rates in the world, and I think we should pat our backs. Now, how we do it, as Raj was mentioning, right, very unorthodox methods like biting, burning, breaking, they don't have any scientific approach. And this is where the international community can really help us, right? So right now I'm traveling in the U.S. because there's a lot of companies in the U.S. who said that, listen, you guys are doing something really awesome. Why don't you come over to the U.S.? We are happy to show you our plants, and we are happy to share our technology with you guys, particularly in terms of plastic segregation and plastic processing. And you could take it back to your country and try and implement that, right? That on a 30,000 level foot is how the international community is helping. Now, going a little bit deeper, you have these sister city concerns, right? When you talk about the cities like progressive cities like Bangalore, they have a sister city concern with San Francisco. And San Francisco is one of the more progressive cities in the world, right? They know what they're doing, actually. And San Francisco has been working with the city of Bangalore, and San Francisco has been advising us even in terms of what are the best practices in terms of waste management, what kind of technologies suit what kind of waste and things like that. So the international community has been mighty helpful, not only in giving us technology advice, but also in terms of business advice, because Columbia Business School, from which I've graduated, right, they have been extremely cooperative in putting me in touch with the city of New York, where the sanitation commissioner, Mr. Ron Gonen, is advising us on how to incentivize citizens to recycle waste, right? He's founded a company called Recycle Bank in the U.S., and they basically incentivize you in terms of coupons and mobile minutes and whatnot to increase the recycling rates at household level. So there's a lot of action in the international community, but I think we as Indians have to understand the Indian context, take advantage of the help, but at the end of the day, you need to really, really, really bring it down and customize it to what India needs at this point of time. And I think that's where we as entrepreneurs come in, identify a problem and come up with the right solution or a product that fits the market needs.
Got it. Customized solutions and Indian solutions to Indian problems. That's the bottom line. Yeah. Even in agriculture, I spoke to Ramanjanelli Jivigaru. We spoke to him on NRI Samay. So we just bring in all the machinery for our agricultural needs from other countries, and it just doesn't fit in the agricultural needs and necessities of India. This is, I definitely get your point. So I wanted to bring this.
Let me add one more.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry. I felt this is important, right? Raj was talking about all the various things that happen in the way we characterize waste, right? For example, he was talking about the organic fraction, the recyclable fraction, right? One thing that we do at Banyan that is perhaps a little bit different from what a lot of private companies are doing in the market is before even bringing in a technology. For example, there's a few dozen technologies out there, like waste to energy technologies, for example, incineration, biogas generation, pyrolysis, gasification. You name it, you've got technology out there in the market. Now, what Banyan is trying to do is not try to shove a technology down the throat of the citizens, right? What we want to do is we want to first enter a city, and then we first want to spend about 3 months to 6 months understanding the waste composition, the seasonality in the waste, the variance with all the festivals that India has. Waste depends on so many macro factors. We want to factor in all those things, understand the waste composition, because it's one of the most heterogeneous substances on the face of the earth, waste. And once we have a steady understanding of the waste, we then go and find what technology would be the most suitable to process this waste. So this approach, I think, is healthy in the long run. And for this to work, we need patient urban local bodies and municipalities, right, who are not running to find some band-aid solutions in the near term to appease someone higher up the order or below the order, right? And that patience in analyzing the problem, looking at data at every touch point, and then coming up with a solution, I think, is what is the need of the hour.
Awesome. I get it. So, Raj, I think Mani brought up this issue of is trying to bring out the differences between the recyclable waste and the unrecyclable waste, and what can we really achieve with both of these. Of course, you also talked about it a little bit, but you're not trying to push in too many things and then trying to achieve too many things here. But as Mani mentioned, that you want to really sit at one place, understand it, and also at the macro level and the micro level, get some data points, culminate all of the data, and then look at it in a broader perspective rather than simply jumping and then pushing in some technology. So if you can also a little bit explain, what do you guys do right now with the recyclable waste and the unrecyclable waste?
Sure.
And take a perspective of small place like I know Hyderabad is huge, but if you can pick up in a decentralized mechanism of thinking of a small place where you want to look at the waste that is coming through, the recyclable waste and the unrecyclable waste, what is happening right now in the country?
Sure, Shrikant. Continuing the thought that Mani has, I just want to add that we at Banyan Take believe in a bottom-up approach. And by that I mean, like we mentioned earlier, it's the informal sector that is, bearing the burden of recycling in our country. And recycling is extremely important. I think the entire world understands that, and India is slowly appreciating it. Simply because the waste that originates from our homes in India is in the mixed form. So because there's no source segregation, it ends up in a landfill or in a dump at the end of the street, and then it leads to all sorts of environmental degradation. It contaminates the water table and a plethora of issues. So from that standpoint, if you take a small, we operate in the greater Hyderabad area. I mean, we have a network of almost 1,000 informal sector kabadiwalas. They are these stationary recyclers that we work with. So if you take just that piece, that geography, I mean, there are so many different things going on. You have townships which have that have like 2,000 to 5,000 homes. You have huge villas that are spread around, and then there are tiny suburbs which are slightly less, I wouldn't say less developed, but there's old Hyderabad. So everybody has their own sort of issues in terms of consumption and the way they manage their waste. We've spoken to a number of townships and corporates, and I think the problem is the same. I mean, there is no source segregation, and they are looking for turnkey solutions, but unfortunately there are no turnkey solutions. I mean, we have to work together with individual communities and come up with templates that that are repeatable and they are scalable and sustainable. So that's kind of our thought process and vision.
Got it. And one
more thing, perhaps, if I can add to Raj, is I think what Raj was also trying to say is like there's two distinct business models here, right? I think waste management is, I think, a generic umbrella term, but where you're dumping waste in the street corner bins, and the trucks are coming and they're picking it up and taking them to a landfill. But really, we have to understand, unlike in the Western civilizations where there's a single contractor or two contractors assigned to pick up municipal solid waste and the recyclables and everything, in India what happens is recycling is the domain of informal sector. There's no government involvement, nothing, right? I mean, your servant maids, the rag pickers, they're free to do whatever they want. They take the recyclable materials and push it in the recycling market. But waste management is a completely different beast altogether, right? Waste management, the top line revenues there depend on the municipalities. So we have to first gain an appreciation that unlike in America or Europe, where there are where a single or two companies are operating for municipal solid waste and for recyclables. In India, waste management and recycling are distinct, disjoint business verticals. And at this particular moment, we are focusing on the recycling space. And the reasons for operating in the recycling space is Banyan actually was operating in the waste management space where we bid for city contracts with Rourkela. And unfortunately, what happens when you bid for city contracts is the time it takes to actually get the contract in hand is like around a year to 2 years, right? And that really weighs you down as an entrepreneur. But in the recycling space, you can go set your shop, you can basically start making an impact right away, and you do not depend on the government for getting any contracts. And I think that's the beauty where Raj and I saw this opportunity that, hey, recycling is already out there. You do not have to bid for any government contract, and you can directly tap into the informal sector network that's already doing a fantastic job and bring in the recyclables, increase landfill diversion, right? The more you can recycle, the better it is. You reduce the strain on the waste management systems, and thereby you actually save money for the municipalities. Why? Instead of managing 1,000 tons per day, they only manage, let's say, 850 tons, because 150 tons are being recycled by the informal sector. And that's the fundamental difference and distinction between recycling and waste management. And we focus on recycling at this point of time.
Right. Awesome. And Raj and Mani, of course, even before I close on all of the conversation, I wanted to bring this. India has seen almost a kind of nationwide public protest in 2012, right? From the northernmost Jammu and Kashmir to the southernmost Tamil Nadu, against this improper waste management. And it was almost like a fight for the right to a clean environment and environmental justice. And the demonstrations were there on large scale. There was also a hunger strike. If I remember somewhere in Tamil Nadu, there was a hunger strike because in this few villages, there was some respiratory illness that was reported, and it increased tenfold from an average of 450 cases to 5,000 cases. So people were regularly swimming in those villages, and they have got contracted with all these infections with the swarms and flies. And it became pervasive. So it became a serious issue. In 2012, there was some sort of huge uproar against this waste management and also against this garbage. I want to ask you, because we got this recent Union Budget 2014 presented by Finance Minister. Mani, if you can run us through some of these budget initiatives that the government brought up to address this problem of garbage, anything that you can point out would be interesting.
Sure. I think the government, in terms of policy, has always been trying to do something. I mean, you had in early 2000s, you had the Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission, right, where they pumped in quite a bit of money into all these urban local bodies to develop infrastructure, right? Similarly, I think Mr. Jaitley, I think he released 50,000 crores recently, I think, and his focus was on 4 things, if I'm not wrong. He was talking about water purification, he was talking about municipal solid waste, he was talking about IT development and overall urban infrastructure. And 50,000 crores is the sum of money he's pledged. And also they're looking to convert some of the cities. I think 100 is the number that is given to them, into smart cities, right? And smart cities is this new notion that is floating around. New concept that is coming, and it's an awesome concept. I think we need to develop smart cities. So definitely in terms of policy, in terms of the budget allocation, I think the government is progressive. They're looking to pump in money into really building these livable, smart, sustainable, and futuristic cities. And I think kudos to that thought process. But I think the devil is in the details and the devil is in the execution, right? I mean, have we put the right people in the municipalities and the urban local bodies who have the courage and the vision to make the right choices? It's about execution and taking the right decisions, right? And I think as a nation, we fail ourselves in that. I don't think ideologically we do anything wrong. I think we say all the right things. We try and do all the right things, but do we really do it? I think is the big question mark for us. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to turn around the tide here, right? I mean, This is one of my favorite anecdotes, right? When I was in the I spent about 10 years in the US, and every Friday, Saturday, like happy hours or teas or samosas. I mean, in the US, we'd always talk about India, right? How corruption is eating away into the core of our country, how politics, how young people and visionaries need to get into politics. So we talk about all these things and we say all the right things, but do we have men of character who can make the right sacrifices and the right decisions, right, and go and execute them? And I think that's the big question mark. And Raj and I were hoping, let's see if we can take a plunge. Let's see if we can really prove to ourselves that we are not just talkers, and can we really come up with the innovative solutions, and solve some of the big problems that India is facing. I think we've done justice to whatever India has given us and whatever we've learned in the United States. I think that is something that is on my mind always.
Absolutely. And Raj and Mani, I really want to appreciate your time talking about this important initiative, and also, this whole idea of social entrepreneurship should seep in. You're saying that we need little bucks to pay in order to get something done, and that's something that should seep into the minds as much as we could. But with this huge rural-urban divide, and the moment paying for the garbage is seen as if it's something that they're doing it right out of their pocket, and we know the challenges, issues, and also you brought about a customized solution for every locality. And also, the best thing that I've heard from you guys is the Indian solutions to Indian problems, which is the mantra of any social enterprise that should thrive in India right now. So I really appreciate your time. We have to definitely have multiple conversations on this. Recently, N.S. Ramakant has got the Kempegowda Award in Karnataka. He is the one the man who's been working on the garbage crisis in Bangalore. So incredible people on this space and spectrum. So definitely we should have a solid conversation, a debate amongst all of the big heads in India on this, and probably it's a culmination of good thoughts as well. So we should touch base on this. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, Raj, and thank you, Mani, for your time today.
Thanks for having us, Shrikant.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shrikant. I really appreciate it. I think it was a lot of fun talking to you and expressing our thoughts. I think thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Brilliant work, and the idea of social entrepreneurship is awesome. And I thank you for coming on today, and best of luck for the initiative at Banyan. So, friends, that's our show tonight with Raj and Mani. Brilliant inputs, and they've talked about recyclable waste and unrecyclable waste, bringing out Indian solutions to Indian problems, and also with this existing scenario wherein there's a huge gap between the rural-urban divide and a lot of challenges, and also people resisting the idea of dumping garbages at their areas. We recently saw an issue where in Mandur, Karnataka, there's a huge uproar against the garbage dumps being filled in their villages. So it's a topic that it's an open-ended discussion. It's a topic when there's a lot of items to be covered with, but in half an hour, whatever best we could talk with Raj and Mani, we covered it. So it's definitely time to redefine the word trash, which is what Raj and Mani at Banyan. You can visit their website. It's called thebanyannation.com. So you can visit their website and learn more from their initiative on that front. Every day in India, thousands of children die from drinking dirty water, and it's reported that 80% of the population suffer from pollution-induced diseases and fatalities. So it's not just the general public, children, tourists, businessmen, municipalities, panchayats, even animals. Everyone is affected by the filth that litters our streets and pollutes our waterways. So do tune in to NRI Samay. Write your comments. Also send us feedback on nrisamay@gmail.com, facebook.com/NRI Samay, twitter.com/NRI Samay. Bring in all your comments. You have any questions more to Mani and Raj, you can write to us, nrisamay@gmail.com. We'll forward it to Raj and Mani and get the answers to all your questions. At the moment, for now, until we have the next show. Thank you so much. This is Shrikant signing off.